Notice that the narrative is full of evaluative stages. Number one, in some old magazine or newspaper, I recollect the story. That's an evaluative statement by the narrator, where the narrator tells us about the origin of the story, and that is evaluative because it is a statement that is attributing the source of the story, a story that is assessed as truth, assessed as a fact, which is the fact that he absented himself for a very long time, what we have already characterized as the conflicting action. Now, this fact is stated in an abstract fashion, or thus abstractly stated. And we learn that fact, notice all the again, assessments, all the evaluations. There's all the acts of either praise or criticism. We learn that this action, the fact that he absented himself for a long time from his wife, is not very uncommon without a proper distinction of circumstances to be condemned as naughty or as either naughty or nonsensical. However, and there's a little concession here, though far from the most aggravated, is perhaps the strangest, again, instance on record of marital delinquency, crime. So again, notice the evaluations, truth, from some old magazine, told us truth. It's a fact, abstractly stated, not very uncommon, without a proper distinction of circumstances, to be condemned as either naughty or nonsensical, far from the most aggravated, perhaps the strangest case or instance on record of marital delinquency. To be characterized, we might say, as remarkable as a freak, as remarkable as a freak as may be found in the whole list of human oddities. So it's an odd act. Without a shadow of a reason, we don't understand why he did that. And he created a gap in his matrimonial felicity. And then Mrs. Wakefield is characterized as forlorn, and her widowhood as autumnal. So all the phrases that I have highlighted in green here are illustrations of what we can call evaluation. Again, the last line, and he became a loving spouse till death, will be characterized as the coda, the ending, not of the narrative in this case, but the ending of the abstract. So Labov's categories for interpretation of narratives can be used when we are researching narratives, when we are reading narratives in order to interpret them in some specific way, or when we are writing narratives. Now, do we have a framework? We may adopt this one, we may adopt some other framework, but we need to have some criteria to fall upon in order to write narratives, in order to produce narratives, in order to interpret narratives. All I'm saying is that this framework, as many other frameworks, can enable us to reflect upon the categories that make up a specific genre. So if you are reading a story, or if you're writing a story, the story that you're writing, question, does it have a conflict? Does it have evaluative stages. Are these evaluative stages of a meta-literary nature? That is, as in Wakefield, is the narrator assessing his or her or their own narrative? Because we learn that the story told as truth is factual, but we also know, on the other hand, that it is fictional. So what does fact mean here? But it is abstractly stated. So that's an assessment on the narrative itself. So will your narrative have evaluative stages, and will those evaluative stages be of a meta-literary nature? Will you have an abstract in the first place, or will you plunge into the conflict straight away? Or will there be some normal state of affairs only to be followed by the complication? Or, as I stated before, will you have like a complication or a complicating act that will be followed by a number of events that will enable us to go in search of the answers? Why did we have that complication, that initial complication? Well, these are some of the questions that may arise when you do research or read or interpret or write narratives. We will establish connections between the abstract and the rest of the narrative. As far as Wakefield is concerned, we will analyze, probably in the near future, other narratives, and also we will get into the analysis of texts that are scientific, more specifically research articles. Well, I hope you have enjoyed the class, and I hope I have been able to clarify some of the issues pertaining Labov's categories for the interpretation of narratives. Bye-bye.